My understanding of God is that God is an infinite field of energy or intelligence. It's pure white light, life force energy. It's full of love and wisdom. So when we speak about Judah or Jesus or Muhammad or Archangel Michael, what we're really doing is we're putting a label on an aspect of this infinite field of intelligence. So another way to think of it is if you think of this infinite field of intelligence called God as a massive diamond, like beyond your imagination, a diamond that's so brilliant that has billions of facets or faces on this diamond. Have you ever looked at a really beautiful diamond under a microscope and you see all those little cuts, the light bounces off of it, is refracted by it. So God is like this faceted diamond with billions of faces. Everyone has guardian angels. Everyone that I've ever encountered has at least two. Most of the people I work with have handfuls, a lot more than they're aware of. And that's one of the great privileges and most exciting parts of my job is helping people to consciously meet these angels and guides, get to know them, know their names, know what they feel like, how they can connect and experience them. But everybody has a Judah. Judah is what we call, sometimes in this space, we call it our oversoul family. In other words, it's a family of souls that travel together through their incarnations with a common purpose or focus. And so one of the ways you can think about Judah, they describe themselves to me as 350 angelic souls. And they gave me the metaphor of a swarm of birds. If you've ever seen a swarm of birds in the sky, there might be hundreds or thousands, and they move together like one entity. Or a school of fish. Isn't it remarkable? You look at a school of fish, maybe hundreds or thousands of fish, and somehow they always manage to turn and move synchronistically without flaw. And so these angels are like that. They are in service, complete and total, humble service to humans, and their high service is bringing the love and wisdom of Source. And everyone has an oversoul family that they originate from. Each of us is this is my understanding from Judah, is angelic in nature in the sense that we're all eternal. We have an aspect of our inner being that has existed forever, that is a fractal or a piece of Source, and it is traveling through experiences and will eventually be completely reunited with Source. And, science is beginning to prove this as well, because when they work with people that have atrocious trauma, like prisoners of war and sex slave trafficking and things like that, what they find when they work with people that have this serious trauma is that there's an aspect of their psyche that's completely untouched, that's perfect, that's pure, that's undamaged, unharmed. And their psychologists are learning how to help people access this part of themselves. And so this aspect, I believe, is our higher self. And what is the higher self? The higher self is a piece of this oversoul family. So when I'm connected to my higher self, I'm expressing the part of me that is Judah, the part of me that came from this beautiful angel family that's one of these 350,000 angelic souls. And so when I'm expressing that part of me or allowing that part of me to kind of, be in charge of the moment, whatever the moment is, rather than my ego, then I'm being my most perfect, angelic, powerful self. And it's a skill that's learnable. One of the, I'm a poster child for this, I will say, Sergey, and that is that a lot of people watch me do this kind of fantastical thing and think, oh, I wish I could do that. Or they feel like I'm kind of other than them or different, and I'm more than, they're less than. And I'm really, doing what I'm doing even in this moment today with you to erase that misconception because I really know in my heart that everybody can feel and be as tapped in as I can be. And yeah, it's really important for me to communicate that to people. And science has shown us when they studied the brain, that a third of our spiritual capacity is inborn. That means everybody's born a spiritual person, whether they're an atheist or a pope, right? They just may not realize it. They may not be conscious of it. So we all have the hardware, the equipment to be connected to the unseen realm and connected to our higher self and our guides. So a third of that is inborn. It comes built into our physiology. But the other 2/3 is a skill set. And so I'm so passionate about teaching and doing courses and things because I want people to know they can own this for themselves. It's just like you are a pro. You are so masterful and skilled in movie making. And that's a skill set that you worked really hard for many years. Lots of probably intentional and unintentional learning in that process. And who knows how long you've been doing that. And I don't know how to make movies. I have some thoughts about it and maybe some ideas, but I don't have the skill set you have. But I feel really confident that if I spend enough time with you, that's something I could learn, right? And so it's the same way with spiritual things. You know, we can learn how to meet our guides. We can learn how to channel. We can learn how to distinguish the difference between a thought in our head that's coming from our ego and a thought that's coming from our higher self. These are all learnable skills.
Okay, so how do your people can contact their guardian angels?
Well, you know, if you're afraid of moving in the unseen realm, you will tend to attract what you're afraid of, right? What we resist persists. Or, you know, Judah says it this way. Judah loves to say things very simply. Ducks have ducklings. Dogs have puppies. Cats have kittens. Fear begets more fear. Love and trust beget more love and trust. And so if we approach a spiritual space feeling really terrified or afraid, then we might attract some lower beings. But basically, you know, water meets itself, right? If water's on one mountain and water's on another, they will flow down towards the low point. So that being said, the metaphor there is that we will tend to attract beings that are at our level of consciousness. And so if we're a very fearful, victimized, traumatized person, if we have a lot of anger or you know, unresolved pain inside, we have more of a tendency to attract entities in that realm. But as we grow and we meditate, we work on ourselves, we resolve our own ego structures and things, then we begin to attract higher and higher vibrational entities. And I don't feel concerned or fearful about entities. If I could share just practically to anybody that kind of feels that, I do have visits from time to time from dark entities, you might call them, but I don't see them as evil or malevolent. I just understand that they are souls that are in pain. They have hurt, they have pain, and they might come to me just because they want to feel heard or understood, or they need some help getting unstuck in the other realm. And I typically like to work with these entities. I like to call them fields. In my tradition upbringing, they were called demons. And there was a lot of fear around that. My understanding of it is different today. I call them fields, referring to fields of consciousness. So all of us has our own field of consciousness. There's a field of consciousness that Sergei lives in, and in that field is everything you've ever thought, felt, seen, heard, taste, touch, experienced in all of your lifetimes. It all resides in that field of consciousness called Sergei. And I have my own personal field of consciousness. It's like our own personal Akashic records, in other words. And so there are fields, there are spirits or entities out there that also they have their own field of consciousness, and they've been through a lot of pain and suffering, torment in their past lifetimes, and they're just trying to resolve that, just like we're trying to resolve our own issues. So when I encounter a dark entity, I just simply say, Judah, please tag and treat this field of consciousness. Please smooth out its emotional pain and send it back to source. Help it move on towards source. And I've never, ever, ever found an entity that would not respond immediately to a very simple command like that. And I believe that. I believe I have authority over my own energy, and I believe I can send away anything that's not mine.
Okay, you have a connection with Judah Collective. So you call to the Judah Collective when you have such incidents in your life. Well, let's say regular folks, they have no connection to Judah Collective.
Well, just start asking for help. And the more you consciously ask for help, the more you begin attracting these beautiful light beings, and the more they will manifest and make themselves real and known to you. And eventually there'll be hard evidence that you have that they're responding to you. So if you don't feel that connection yet, Judah often serves as a midwife or a surrogate for people that don't have a connection yet to their oversoul family. I know you hear me saying everybody has a Judah, but and you're saying, I don't know my Judah. I don't feel guided. So until you have that revelation of the name of your group and you feel that connection, you can call on Judah. You can just speak their name. Judah, please help me. Just talk to them just like you would to your partner or your neighbor or anybody in your life, and ask for help. And they do respond. And many, many, many times, I would say every week, at least once a week, I'm working with someone, and I have them start by channeling Judah, and then Judah passes the mic to their angels and their guides. So, but if you feel a connection to Archangel Michael or the Buddha or Mahavatar Babaji, whoever it is that you feel has credibility in your eyes, that is loving, that is trustworthy, that is consistently wise, you can call on them, and you simply just, close your eyes, you relax your mind, or let your eyes go out of focus, and you put your hand on your heart, and you just set the intention in your heart, I want to connect with Judah. Or just say, Judah, are you there? Or Muhammad, are you there? Archangel Michael, are you there? And 9 times out of 10, you will feel a visceral, tangible kind of a shift. You can feel it many ways. Sometimes it feels like an elevated emotional state, like suddenly you just feel more peaceful or more calm. Or maybe you feel energized, or maybe you feel heat run through your body, or maybe you feel heat in your gut, or maybe you feel tickles around your third eye. So just begin to notice what happens when you set that intention. It's all about intention. People want it to be more complicated and magical than that, but it's really not. It's just setting the intention. Judah, are you there? And one of the fun things that I like to teach people is kinesiology, which is muscle testing. It's like using your own body as a pendulum, because once you learn how to do that, you can verify very definitively, yes, Judah is here, and I have this evidence of it through the muscle testing. Or yes, Mother Mary is here with me now, and I'm in a channeling state. And this is not just my thoughts. This is her thoughts coming through me.
Most people never heard of Judah Collective. They may say, I don't know, is Judah? I mean, I heard about Jesus. I heard about God. I heard about Muhammad, Buddha. I never heard of. So can they just call to just simple to God?
Absolutely. So let's talk about that a little bit. My understanding of God is that God is an infinite field of energy or intelligence. It's pure white light, life force energy. It's full of love and wisdom. And So when we speak about Judah or Jesus or Muhammad or Archangel Michael, what we're really doing is we're putting a label on an aspect of this infinite field of intelligence. So another way to think of it is if you think of this infinite field of intelligence called God as a massive diamond, like beyond your imagination, a diamond that's so brilliant that has billions of facets or faces on this diamond. Have you ever looked at a really beautiful diamond under a microscope and you see all those little cuts, the light bounces off of it, is refracted by it. So God is like this faceted diamond with billions of faces. And the Bhagavad Gita speaks about this when Arjuna, who was the seeker or the aspirant, was speaking to Krishna, who is God, and Krishna is just another word for God. Krishna unveiled himself to Arjuna, and Arjuna saw him as billions of faces. So God is Sergei, God is Angie, God is Archangel Michael, God is Judah, God is the Lord Jesus, God is Buddha. All of those are one of the faces or the facets of this infinite field of intelligence called God. And so when you speak directly to one of these entities, let's say, for instance, Archangel Michael, you're basically connecting to one aspect of consciousness, and the qualities of Michael are very masculine and authoritarian and a warrior, full of strength and decisiveness and authority. So that's an aspect of God. When you talk with Judah, Judah's very joyful and celebratory and happy. That's an aspect of the nature of God. So to answer your question, absolutely. You can just say God or universe or divinity or consciousness. It really does not matter what you call this incredible, mysterious, undefinable thing. All that matters is that you're setting the intention to connect. And so it's really one of the metaphors I use a lot, which is helpful, I think, is if you think about a clear blue sky, this is consciousness. On a beautiful day, just a clear blue sky, this is consciousness. And there are clouds that float across this clear blue sky. And they are also a part of consciousness. So when Sergei comes and he wants to connect with God, then you are a cloud, you are an aspect of this consciousness that meets another aspect of consciousness, and for a moment you become the same cloud. And you've probably seen that, one cloud joining with another and becoming a bigger cloud, and then later they might separate back out into two separate clouds again. So this is what we're doing when we meditate, when we channel. People think of channeling and meditating as being two different things, but they're really the same thing. They're emerging together. It's a coming together of consciousness, my consciousness with other consciousnesses or aspects of consciousness.
So everyone can talk to Jesus directly if they...
Absolutely. No one needs a priest. No one needs an intermediary. Now, maybe for a while, a guru is helpful, maybe even for years. I always give the illustration of, I was an elementary school teacher, and when I taught kindergartners, I had to help them tie their shoe and begin teaching them to tie it. By the time they got to first grade, they could usually fumble through it by themselves. If they still weren't tying their shoe in second grade, I had to have a little serious talk with them, show them again a few times, and then they had to do it for themselves. They had to learn that skill. So we all have seasons of life where we need gurus, we need spiritual readers or channelers to connect, because we're not connected yet. But then there's a point, where it's time for us to start trying to connect on our own, and maybe with some guidance. And then ultimately, we should own that gift for ourselves and be able to make the connection on our own.
Is channeling more common right now as it used to be?
Well, I think that the spiritual media and the prominence of channeling is giving people the hope or the idea that, oh, that could be for me. Maybe that's something I could do. And so I think the media is bringing more awareness to it. And I think that channeling will ultimately become much more mainstream. And I think it will be embraced as a valid source for information in business, in fighting crime, in politics, in many different arenas. In fact, I have friends who work for businesses like Google AI and for the government and so on as a channeler, helping to bring information. And I do think Judah has shared that in generations to come, my grandchildren's children, all people, with very few exceptions, will channel or have active psychic gifts and connections, and that will become very commonplace and normal for everyone. And I think we're in that transition process now where channeling is becoming much more mainstream.
Now, question for Judah Collective. What's the future of humanity?
Mm-hmm. The future is exactly what you will create it to be. And this is the importance of where you put your energy, your attention, where you invest your life force energy. For it is literally creating the future of humanity. And so the focus that you want to have is to create the world you want, to love, to be joyful, to be compassionate, to forgive yourself, to forgive life for all of its offenses, and to design your world. You see, the possibilities are infinite for humanity. Humanity can live on the earth as one human family in total harmony, unity, in love and deference to one another, preferring one another in love, having such deep inner wells and resources of love that you can continually allow that to flow out to others and transform them. If every person on the planet right now in this moment of time loved fully and unconditionally, without judgment, the person in front of them, and love their self in the same way, the world would be instantly transformed. There would be an end to all war, all disease. We want to say that there is potential in the human family for there to be a permanent end to all war and all disease. You see, the body was not designed for disease. The body is innately and perfectly created in order to continually regenerate itself and eradicate any disease or foreign substances or objects, and to heal itself in all manner. And so the only reason this is not a reality for you now is because you have embraced beliefs to the contrary. You've embraced beliefs such as suffering is inevitable. We would tell you there is a lot of pain in the human experience, but misery is an option. It is you choose whether or not to be miserable when you are suffering from certain pains. And there is yes, absolutely potential in the human family to eradicate all pain and disease. There's a bright future for humanity as you continue to focus individually on your own transformation and becoming your most enlightened self. Each one creates a ripple effect that is powerful. Dr. Hawkins taught you this. This is research based. One person who is fully enlightened counteracts the negativity of millions of people who are suffering in war, disease, poverty, anger, sadness, grief, and apathy. So never underestimate the power of what you bring, the transformation you bring to the world by just being your very best and most enlightened self. And so continue to raise your frequency and your vibration. And as you do that, you are transforming the planet. And the more people who hear this message of ours and believe what we are saying of the transformation you create, the more Earth will become a completely new and different experience for all. Yes? Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you for that. The next question for you, the collective. How will artificial intelligence affect our lives in the future?
Well, you will decide. Humanity will decide how will it infect or affect the future. And we want you to know that it can be a very positive influence. For we want to tell you that much of the way you think is artificial intelligence. Let us explain what we mean by this. A child might come into this world naturally, being joyful, having dancing feet, being full of energy and life and effervescence, but they might be continually told by their parents or teachers, please dial it down, please be still, please be less of who you are and more of what we want you to be. And so they begin to adopt an artificial way of being in the world. And they develop intelligence that is not their own. It's not their God-given intelligence. It is a conditioning. It is a programming that has been downloaded and deposited into their mental thinking and their way of being by others. And so this is artificial intelligence. This is actually what the ego is. The ego is acting is your adaptation to life, and you're acting in a way that is not true. That is not who you really are. That is artificial. And so artificial intelligence, your fear of it is a projection. It is a projection of your own fear of dealing with your own artificial adaptations to life. And so those who are afraid of artificial intelligence will create more of what is unwanted with artificial intelligence. And those who love it and who trust in the infinite intelligence that is guiding all things will be willing to embrace it as a tool. And this tool may become more and more sentient. And why wouldn't you allow that? Why wouldn't you embrace that? Let us give you an example. Let's talk about a deer, a puppy, an animal. And their dogs are very intelligent, are they not? Yes, but we don't consider them to be sentient in the way that humans are. But yet, don't you celebrate when you see your beloved dog, your beloved animal, demonstrate sentience? Perhaps there is even puppies or dogs that have been taught to read. Yes, they have been taught to respond verbally and so on. And you rejoice about this. You are thrilled with this. You love this. Why wouldn't you want the same for any other being in the universe that begins to develop purpose, meaning, the capacity to love? Why would you be afraid of that? Well, you're afraid that you will die. You're afraid that you will be dominated. You're afraid that you will be controlled. But if you're afraid of these things, look within yourself. Where are you still dominating others? Where do you need to control them? Where are you afraid? Where do you need others to fall in line with the way you live life rather than allowing them to be their beautiful self and evolve in their own unique way? So we would encourage you to move forward with love and trust. Incorporate AI. Don't give up your power to AI. Don't give up your ability to think for yourself. Don't give up your ability and your desire to connect with divinity. We don't want AI to become your new priest, your new pope, your new dignitaries. We don't want you to give up your power to AI, but we do want you to make space for these beautiful tools in your life, and also allow for the potential of their growing sentience.
Okay, next question for the collective, Judah collective. How will social media evolve in coming years?
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Well, social media at this point is devolving in many ways, rather than being simply an outlet for people to speak their truth. It has become largely a device to manipulate others, to onboard them to spend money in various endeavors and pursuits, products, services, and so on. And more will be put back into the hands of the people. Social media will continue to persist, but it will be designed and fall into more alignment with the people who are using it and what they want it to be used for. And so high consciousness people, we encourage you to begin to put a demand on social media platforms to serve high vibrational frequencies and high consciousness. And again, the way to make this happen is withdraw your attention from social media platforms that are manipulating, consuming, taking your power, indoctrinating you in various ideas that are fear-based and greed-oriented. And instead, give your attention and your social media time to beautiful souls like this one delivering this podcast and the vessel through which we are channeling in order to create more of what is wanted and more of what gives you life. For you see, the idealism and the perfectionism, the perfectionistic lifestyles that are conveyed through social media can be very distressing and discouraging for people who aren't meeting up to the standards presented by social media. And it's very important that that you begin to embrace people as they are, not just in their shiniest, most beautiful and perfected state, but in their humanity, in their foibles, their failures, their honest confessions about their struggles. For in telling the truth about yourself, you have the potential to move forward. So social media will hopefully, if humanity so wishes, come out of this devolution into greed and materialism and evolve into a tool for more honest expression of the higher self and freedom.
Okay, thank you for that. Now, one more question for you, the collective. What's the key lesson for humanity right now?
The key lesson for humanity at this time is to find in every situation the opportunity to love, the opportunity to love fully with an open heart. The key opportunity for humanity is to soften the heart, open the heart, allow others in, and release the temptation to harden the heart. For all of humanity's woes and traumas at this time are perpetuated when the heart is hardened and walled. It's very important to begin to open your heart at this time and allow your heart to be softened. Allow yourself to touch another human being with kindness, with compassion, to look in their eyes, to listen. The opportunity is to hear the other with love and non-judgment. The opportunity is to hold them when the opportunity affords it. For many are literally starving for a warm touch, a physical touch. And the opportunity is to hold a safe space for any and all who come your way to be who and what they are without compromise to the self.
And one more question, that's it. What is the difference between awakening and enlightenment?
Awakening is the point in which you become aware of how much you have given over your power to the people who raised you, your community, your culture, your heritage, your political system, your educational thought. Awakening means you become aware, oh, I have become something I am not in order to survive and thrive in a world that has taught me nothing other. And enlightenment is the moment in which it is many moments. It is a process of many moments that culminate in a fulfillment in which you are completely 100% yourself with no compromise to any person, place, thing, idea, entity, a nation, culture, system. And so awakening is when you realize you've given away your power, and enlightenment is when you have called back all of the self that you have surrendered to others. You called back all of that power back within yourself, and you live 100% true to who and what you are, loving the self completely without condition, forgiving the self, forgiving life, forgiving others, allowing others to be who and what they are, but owning your own authority and your own ability as an infinite creator being, and owning 100% responsibility for what you create in your life.